Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. We are live in Studio B alongside Jason Shepard. I'm Spencer Linton. We now welcome in CBS Sports senior writer, a man who was all over the Kevin Young to BYU as the next head coach of the Cougars story. He is Matt Norlander. Matt, welcome to BYUSN. How are you today?
Doing well, fellas. Thanks for having me on. And yes, we officially have the coaching carousel closed. Kevin was the final high major hire, but as we speak here over the weekend, the final couple of mid-major hirings were done. There were 63 changes in this year's men's Division I coaching carousel, which is not an all-time record, but is pretty high. Anytime you crack 60, that's a significant number, and we waited on BYU to finish and finalize, and so it has.
What has your week been like over just the last 7 days that included the breaking news and, your reports and a Woj bomb that was around Kevin Young because of his NBA ties? What was that like for you to follow that story?
It's just the job. It's good. I traded text with Woj on it because I had it for a minute and I was like, I actually thought Woj was going to get it first because Kevin's obviously an assistant in the NBA. And then I took too long. And sure enough, as I was getting ready to send the fire on the tweet, Woj beat me to it. And so we had a chuckle over that as expected. But no, it's slowed down finally. I mean, it was really, from the reporting end of stuff, from the Sunday at the Final Four, when we got word out there that John Calipari was going to go to Arkansas the day before the national championship game, that's really, it's been wild. And the BYU hiring actually tracks all the way back, not even to just SMU hiring Andy Enfield, but SMU even going into the ACC, which prompted them to want to make a coaching change after just 2 years. Like if you're a BYU fan and you want to know, how did we wind up with Kevin Young as our coach? You truly, I'm not kidding about this. You have to go back to UCLA and USC in 2022 opting to go to the Big Ten, which eventually triggered the downfall of the Pac-12, which enabled SMU eventually to be able to join the ACC. And then those boosters being like, we want a new coach.
Yeah.
And that triggered an entire wave. So it's truly the events that led to this are 21 and a half months old.
That's crazy.
Getting Kevin Young to BYU. But that is the origin of all of it. It's wild.
So you're telling me the BYU fans shouldn't be mad at Jack Golke, because a lot of BYU fans are mad at Jack Golke and said he made 10 threes and that's the reason this happened.
I mean, there are many different, it truly is wild, the different kind of factors and levels with all of this, including, by the way, just, since we're kind of diving into this, Jerome Tang got really close to taking the Arkansas job. And that's been the one thing that's gotten kind of lost in all of this stuff, is if Tang didn't opt to stay at Kansas State, then Calipari never goes to Arkansas and Mark Pope's still coaching at BYU. So there are many, many factors that led us to this point here. It's been it has been an insane past couple of months in college basketball with the amount of changes and just the ripple effects and chaos theory and butterfly effects, all that stuff going down. It's been wild.
Well, Matt, to say that BYU fans are excited that Kevin Young is the head coach would be an understatement. What was your reaction with the news that that's where BYU was going to go?
So I was a little bit surprised in this regard, Jason. I didn't think that either Alex Jensen, who obviously is the other NBA assistant that had ties to the job, or Kevin Young were going to take the gig, because these are a couple of men who are tracking and have been tracking toward being an NBA head coach eventually, and that's obviously a job with plenty of prestige. But come to find out, to my genuine surprise, Kevin Young was identified by Tom Holmoe in the process before Pope even got the Kentucky job, as he should. Like, Tom's a very smart man, and every AD has to have this. Like, you have to be prepared at a moment's notice to replace your football coach, your head men's basketball coach, your head women's basketball coach, and like your biggest sports in particular have to have names on a list. And Holmoe had Kevin at the top. But truly, this wasn't like we're going for our second, third choice. Like, Kevin was the number one pick, and he zeroed in on him to a point where I eventually learned of it as we got closer and closer. And I'm going to say this on BYUtv, and as Tom didn't get back to me on my texts and phone calls, when that happens, they are telling you without explicitly telling you. And then fortunately I had a source or two that was able to confirm that with me. And then Tom was plenty available as soon as it was made official. It was clear to me that he had become the guy. And what was surprising about it, though, and you guys have probably talked about it, and your networks talked about it plenty in the day since the hiring, was basically BYU opting to go outside its norms and protocols when it comes to hiring coaches. Because the one thing that I was assuming was going to have to be the case, because BYU is a different place, was, typically it's a minimum of 3 candidates that get vetted and get formally interviewed for a hiring process to a head coaching position. But this was viewed as a different thing. Obviously, Ryan Smith's involvement in this, Danny Ainge's involvement in this led the process to be expedited to get Kevin Young. And he even took his name out of the running for the Brooklyn Nets head job. I was told by one source he actually turned the Brooklyn Nets job down.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes in the industry, sometimes that can truly be the case, and sometimes it's done for cosmetic appearances. But regardless, he's all in on this, and the fact that it led to him is super intriguing. I can't wait to see what he does as a coach in terms of playing style. As we speak here, actually, Kevin Young's back on campus in Provo today on Monday, April 22nd, for only the second time. I think he's spent like 6 total hours on campus there since he got the job, but getting back in there, trying to finalize some coaching assistant hirings, trying to figure out which players. I think BYU has 7 players on the roster right now. I think 7 that haven't gone to the portal. Who's going to stay? Who's going to go? But was a surprising name. I know I'm being long-winded here, but I didn't think that that an NBA guy would take the job. But now that he did, from a reporter standpoint, I'm fascinated by it because he is someone different. I fully expect him to bring at least 1, if not 2 people from the NBA ranks along with him to join his staff. And there will be a very intriguing flavor at BYU with Kevin Young opting to coach in Division I, which he's never been a Division I head coach. He's only spent 1 year in Division I, period. So it will be a major change for him.
Matt Norlander is a CBS Sports senior writer. He is on BYU Sports Nation. Everybody wants to know who Kevin Young's assistants are going to be. You just kind of alluded to the idea that 1 or 2 NBA folks may be in the mix. What are you hearing on a timetable and names, if at all, of who could potentially be on his staff?
Yeah, so I had a carrot dangled to me that there's apparently like a pretty intriguing big name, but that name has not been given to me yet. We'll see if that name comes to be, and if so, the timeline on it, I would hope by the end of the week. A lot of this is going to depend on when the Phoenix season ends. So if you're a BYU fan, you find yourself in the semi-uncomfortable position of rooting against your head coach right now, because you do not want the Phoenix Suns to continue playing deep into the play. You don't. You want him to be fully able to commit to the job, and like it's just unavoidably true. Like, this is super weird and awkward that you have a guy who has accepted your head coaching position, but he's not leaving the NBA right now, and it actually can be worked against you. Now, BYU is a different enough place where the kind of player you're getting, who you're recruiting, like you have a more narrow spectrum of player that you're recruiting. So I don't think it'll have like true massive impact, but it's unavoidable that by the pure nature of Kevin Young sticking on with Phoenix until the end of that playoff run, whenever that is, whether it's 5 days from now or 5 weeks from now, like it will be used against BYU in recruiting. It's unavoidable. And they got to try and work around it. Stanford assistant Brandon Dunson, former assistant, I fully expect him to be on and added to BYU staff, and for that to be made official by week's end, if not the next 24 to 36 hours. And then we'll wait and see on the actual NBA names there, but they'll fill it out soon. And I have no doubt that Kevin Young has been working. Bless his wife and family. I would genuinely imagine he is working 18-hour days minimum at this point, trying to give all that he can to BYU. And then at the same time, still he's the top assistant for the Suns. So it's been insane. But real quick on this, I truly don't mean to be long-winded, but there's so much here. I will say this. He did previously coach at the G League level as a head coach. And there have been years, undoubtedly, I know this in talking to people at the NBA level and G League level, like the roster turnover is so insane. Like Kevin Young has probably had G League seasons where he had, I'm not exaggerating, 60 different players he coached in one G League season. So when it comes to that, he's probably not entirely out of his element. And the idea of having massive roster turnover for BYU is not going to be daunting for him. But even if it's not daunting for him, it is the Big 12. It's been the best league in the sport 8 of the past 10 years, and it will be hard. And there's no guarantee that he steps in right away and has a roster that can finish, say, top 8 in the Big 12. Like, BYU fans just need to accept the fact that, hey, listen, 7-year deal for Kevin Young. He's the highest paid coach in the history of that basketball program. They're going to give him runway, and it might take more than just a year to immediately adapt.
Well, and that G League team that he coached was less than 4 miles away from BYU's campus, so he's certainly aware of the area. Obviously know that the transfer portal is a thing. It's only getting bigger. It's not going away. He mentioned in his press conference that his #1 priority was to get his guys to stay. We know that the Richie Saunders is in Lexington meeting with Coach Pope and the Wildcats. Dallin Hall's name is out there, added Duke and Virginia over the weekend. How many of these guys do you think realistically will be back at BYU?
That's a good question. I do know that Kevin has been in contact consistently with Dallin and Richie, trying to talk them into returning, and they will obviously seriously consider it, because if you ever get someone to agree to play at BYU, period, okay, you're going to, even if they go in the portal, they're going to take that decision very seriously. But with Dallin and the schools that have been involved, and Richie's obviously pre-existing relationship with Kentucky. Kentucky's in the midst of a very big week with a lot of official visits every single day. Your former BYU coach is hosting transfers there for Kentucky. I wouldn't put it that high, but I will say, because listen, I live in Connecticut. I've never covered a BYU game in person out in Utah. I'd love to change that as soon as possible.
Yes.
And I say this jokingly. Pope could just never convince me to do it. He never got it done. So there is a certain element to the BYU culture that I understand from afar, but haven't seen up close. And unless I literally hear it from a player, I'm never going to say it's not going to happen. So it doesn't. The winds aren't necessarily blowing in the direction that Richie and Dallin would return to BYU, but there is something different, obviously, about that program. And never say never with that. I do believe, in talking to not just BYU folks, but people around college basketball, I do believe that Kevin Young is prepared and at peace with the idea, particularly because of his G League background, if they truly have a roster rebuild and it's like they only bring back 3 or 4 players who played last season under Pope, while fans might start grip their seats a little bit at that, just know that your head coach, I think, is more than okay if it winds up going that way. Not even out of desire for it to go that way, but understanding that this, again, will be a process. It's going to take years, and he wants to get the guys that truly want to be there and who he wants there, and consider like he's going to have a certain system. It's going to be different from Pope. Not drastically different, by the way, but different from Pope, and just keep that in mind. But I would lean right now with Hall and Saunders not returning. That's a lean, not a guarantee. I'm not projecting it to be 100%, but that's just based on conversations I've had in recent days.
Matt, so much great stuff. We need to do this again. My producer's telling me we got to go to break so we can get this show off the air at the right time, but let's do this again soon. We've got to talk Utah hockey.
Yeah, he wanted to give us a name
too.
Yeah.
Just, we can go. We're up against the break. I'm just saying, either have it ski-related, can't be Avalanche, can't be Blizzard, or Yetis. A lot of these other nicknames, they're absolutely atrocious. You have to have a good nickname if you bring a new hockey team to town. That's all I'm saying. Has to be a good one.
Thanks, Matt, so much.